This video isn't warm fuzzies. It's not a rom-com script. And it sure as hell isn't a guide to becoming her lapdog in 3 easy steps. It's about turning into the kind of guy she can't shake from her mind, not with flowers or sappy texts, but because you vanished right when she thought she had you on a leash. Nothing drives a control freak crazier than losing their grip. If you're the type who crumbles when she leaves you on red, cool. Grab a pillow, call your therapist, and bow out now. But if you're done begging for scraps of attention, trying to prove you're not like other guys, or groveling like a lovesick teenager, then buckle up. Today, you're learning the weapon that turns a forgotten nice guy into a high-value ghost she can't stop thinking about. The silent treatment. Silence, my man, isn't empty. It's a power move in a suit. And the cold shoulder? That's an emotional grenade with no warning label. When it goes off, it obliterates the script she rehearsed to keep her cool. She laughs at the guy who chases, but she loses sleep over the one who doesn't even text, "Hey." That guy, cool, mysterious, untouchable can be you. If you stop being an open book and start being the glitch in her system. You've spent your life trying to crack the code of what women want. You played the nice guy, the sensitive type, the I'm different card. Result? Ghosted in HD. Ignored with a side of, "You're amazing, but something's missing," right after you moonlighted as her waiter and therapist. Know what was missing? Mystery. Edge. Selective presence. You were so predictable she read you like a drugstore pamphlet. She clocked your baggage, your anxious attachment, and filed you under safe bets. But there's a guy who doesn't fit in her emotional spreadsheet. The one who doesn't react, doesn't explain, just shuts up and disappears. That guy's a glitch in her matrix. A notification that won't load. An online with no reply. For someone obsessed with control, that's pure torture. Today, you'll learn how to become that system error. The man who doesn't beg, argue, or throw tantrums. He just vanishes, leaving a "why'd he ghost me?" that hits harder than any love letter. But first, let's fire up that last working brain cell. This video didn't just pop out of nowhere or get summoned by good vibes. Someone smarter than you liked, commented, and subscribed. Not magic. Algorithm. And algorithms aren't your mom. They're cold machines that only deliver if you feed them. So if you're sitting there nursing an emotional hangover, leeching off content like the world owes you, bold move. Like, comment, subscribe. Drop a "thanks, bro" to keep up the enlightened act. Enough warm-up. Here comes the knockout. No warning, no mercy. Because respect, my friend, starts with silence. Number 1. She doesn't want love. She wants a remote control with your face on it. Before you open that shaky mouth or type another Good Morning Sunshine novel. Get this. Most modern women don't want a relationship. They want a kingdom, an emotional one. With you as the loyal servant, obviously. She wants a castle where you're the emotional butler. She tests, manipulates, compares, ghosts. And there you are, grinning like a golden retriever, asking if everything's okay. Her response? The classic, "Nothing, just thinking." Translation, "I'm staging a mental play to see if you'll dance to my tune." And guess what? You dance. You dance like a champ. A plush toy robot programmed to please. Why? Because you were trained to think affection fixes neglect. That hugs melt ice. That love saves people who don't want saving. Cute story. Too bad it only works in cheesy movies. Truth is, she doesn't want your sweetness. She wants control. She wants to see if you'll break. She wants to know if one ghosting will have you crawling back with flowers and guilt. And when you do, game over. You handed her your respect, your spark, and any shred of authority on a silver platter. She tests you to see if there's still a man in there, or just a walking therapy pillow. Every time you send an "I'm sorry if I messed up," or ask if she wants to talk, she looks at you like you're an emotional knick-knack, a pet icebreaker. You became her backup plan, her emotional spare tire, always there, always online, always saying, "Yes, babe." Want a truth that stings? Women don't fall for the guy who says yes. They get hooked on the challenge, the puzzle, the guy they can't bend, no matter how hard they try. Enter the silent treatment. It's not revenge. It's self-respect with brass knuckles. It's the "I'm not explaining myself" that blows up her mind games. It's the "you lost me and didn't even notice" that only lands when it's too late. So burn this into your brain. Next time she tests you, don't react, don't chase, don't send a novel, don't apologize for something you didn't do. Vanish. Because when you take away what she craves most, control, she finally tastes the insecurity she served you. And then, my man, the game flips. You're not a pawn anymore. You're the board. 2. The guy who ghosts becomes her favorite horror flick. Still think she misses the guy who keeps trying? The desperate dude sending essays to prove he's not like the rest? Cute. She forgets that guy before he hits send. Those are the emotional extras, bit players in her ego-driven drama. But the guy who ghosts, who disappears right when she thought she had you in her pocket, that guy's her personal art house film, late-night screening, endless reruns at 3 a.m., with her confidence in tatters and her phone as her crystal ball. Your silence becomes the script, your absence the iconic scene, and the cold shoulder. That's the haunting soundtrack she can't pause. She hits replay on her pain and calls it nostalgia. Why? Because her mind's a control factory, a theory lab. She needs to understand, needs closure. And when you turn into an emotional black hole, no ending, no explanation, no return, she short circuits. The loop begins. She replays every word, overanalyzes every move, tries to squeeze meaning from that "hey" you dropped in 2019. You're the glitch in her system, the bug she can't fix, a corrupted file she can't delete. The more she tries to crack it, the more you haunt her, even when you're gone. Motionless, invisible, and still taking up more space than the last 15 clowns combined. The mistake was never ghosting. It was sticking around. Because a guy who chases just proves he's lost. But the one who vanishes at the peak? He's upgraded to emotional legend, not hated, revered in silence. Because he didn't leave scars, he left questions. And questions are a virus in her ego, a slow-motion implosion. Here's the real black magic. She starts wondering if she's the problem. And when that question pops up, desire kicks in. Because now it's not about you. It's about her proving herself, proving she can still have you, still control something, still get a reaction, a sign, anything. But the more she tries, the more she drowns. Your silence is her mirror. And what does she see? Her own desperation dressed up as longing. She's not chasing you anymore. She's chasing her wounded pride, trying to pull her ego from the wreckage. And the beauty of it? You don't lift a finger, don't text, don't reply, don't show up. Yet you're the loudest presence in her life. The VIP ghost no therapy can banish. When she finally gets it, too late. Because you, the guy who used to beg now, know how to ghost like a pro. And what's left for her? Just a mental rerun of a movie with no happy ending. 3. Every woman needs a faceplant from her own ego no cushion. Why does she toy with you? Because she thinks you're a toy. The kind that doesn't break, doesn't leave, and thanks her for the kicks. She assumes your heart's a hotel room. She checks in, makes a mess, crashes, leaves, and someone else cleans up. Most women aren't scared of losing a guy. They're sure you'll stay put, rooted, ready, drooling for love, begging for a crumb of attention like it's a trophy. So they test, ghost, reappear, provoke, because in their inflated heads you'll always be there, the clown of your own dignity, the nice guy, the different one, the I'm not like the others, who she treats the same or worse. But the circus shuts down when a guy stops dancing to her tune. stops explaining, stops delivering tearful monologues about wanting to make her happy. That's when it turns into a psychological thriller. The silent treatment cuts like an invisible blade through her ego, and that glitter-filled ego balloon only floats when it gets reactions. She says, "I don't know what I want," expecting you to stand there, a statue of patience. Says, "I need space," betting you'll crawl back with roses and tears. But when you cross your arms and vanish instead, she melts. Because her ego didn't get what it needs, an audience. And that's when the real fun starts. Her ego's let down. She thought she was the prize, the cherry on top, the last cookie in the emotional jar. But you didn't wait, didn't beg, didn't play. You walked off stage like you're closing a door without a sound, and that, my man, hurts more than any outburst. At that moment, she doesn't miss you. She hates herself for losing control, for assuming you were just another guy, for thinking your value was up for grabs. And now, guess what? You're the mistake she can't erase, the void heavier than presence, the what if that haunts her. And the best part, she can't even blame you. You didn't curse, didn't argue, didn't make a scene. You just ghosted, clean, cold, calculated. Because the silent treatment doesn't yell, it shows. Shows who's who in the emotional chess game. Nobody likes their reflection when the mirror says they misjudged your strength. 4. You don't ignore to hurt. You ignore because you leveled up. Too many guys are stuck in emotional preschool. Thinking silence is pouting. Ignoring is childish. Giving the cold shoulder is playing games. And that's why they keep getting tossed like an old remote. She clicks, changes the channel, and forgets what was on. But the guy who masters the silent treatment, he doesn't ignore to wound. He ignores because he woke up. He realized every time he explains, justifies, or argues, he's just handing her ammo for her emotional courtroom. Which, by the way, convicts without a defense. Want a truth that burns? If you're raising your voice, she's already won. If you're begging for attention, she's already bored. If you're sending novels, she's already mapped your weak spots. But when you hit back with silence, now we've got a problem. She's lost. Because nothing in her emotional playbook preps her for a guy who doesn't take the bait, who doesn't cry, beg, or budge. The silent treatment builds invisible walls. She bangs, provokes, tries to get in, and only hears her own desperation echoing back. And no, she's not suffering because she lost you. She's spiraling because she lost control. And for someone used to calling the shots, control is oxygen. You only notice it's gone when you're gasping. But now you're the one who ghosts, who doesn't react, who stops tolerating emotional blackmail disguised as honesty. You don't ignore because you hate. You ignore because you realized answering just fuels her drama where you're always the fool. You don't give the cold shoulder to hurt. You do it to guard your peace. The peace she tried to buy with crumbs. A man who knows his worth doesn't argue with someone who speaks in drama. He just leaves, quietly. No fuss, no final speech. Just gone. And that silence, it's the invisible slap she can't return. This isn't coldness. It's armored self-respect. You're not playing, you're protecting. Silence is your shield. The cold shoulder, your filter. Selective ignoring, your emotional maturity. You're not spiteful, you're untouchable. And an untouchable man doesn't clap back at cheap shots. He sets boundaries. And for a woman used to desperate guys, a boundary is a megaphone insult. And that's exactly why. She'll want you more. Because you stopped being an option and became a consequence. 5. She'll remember what she lost without anyone needing to remind her. At first, sure, she'll laugh, toss out those rehearsed lines to mask her panic with swagger, call you cold, immature, incapable of handling a real woman. Oh, the classic. She'll play the victim of your absence, like your ghosting was an emotional crime. Cue the performance. Instagram stories with moving on quotes, posts about self-love, sultry selfies with guru captions. But inside, a hurricane of bruised ego trying to figure out how you dared. Just vanish. No drama, no relapse, no "can we talk?" You ghosted. And for someone who thrived on your reactions, that's like smashing the mirror she loved admiring herself in. Now there's no audience, no echo, no drama in return, just silence. And time is a brutal artist. It paints the truth when her facade starts to crack. Her DMs dry up. The attention fades, the comparisons kick in, and then, finally, she remembers. Not what you said, but what you refused to say. The stone-cold calm, the surgical ghosting, the absence that, without making a sound, hit harder than a punch to her pride. She'll replay the time she tried to poke you, and you didn't flinch, tried to rattle you, and you didn't fold, tried to replace you, and the void just grew, because a man who ghosts with style doesn't leave scars, he leaves standards. You became the benchmark no one else hits, the mistake she can't fix, the fight she didn't win. And for someone hooked on emotional control, that's like filing for self-esteem bankruptcy. She'll move on, sure, collect distractions, fake fresh starts, force smiles on new faces. But every time the script repeats, when the new prince turns into a frog, your name creeps back. Not because you made a scene, but because you were the only one who knew how to leave without saying a word, and still said everything. Because in the end, she doesn't remember the guy who begged. She remembers the one who didn't need to beg to be noticed, who didn't fight to be respected, who ghosted without drama and became a phantom presence on her emotional stage. Silence, my man, is the only comeback she can't counter. There's no defense against absence, no argument against someone already gone. She can win any fight, except this one, because you finally got your worth. And that, my friend, she'll never forget. Brutal closer. Choose if you want to be loved or legendary. It all boils down to one simple gut punch choice. Do you want to be loved like a doormat, or remembered like an earthquake? Because the guy who begs for love might get a pat on the head. But attention's just pocket change. And pocket change doesn't buy respect. Respect, my man, is the only emotional drug that truly hooks a woman. The rest, just recycled soap opera scripts. Women love a game. Until they crash into a guy who doesn't play, doesn't answer, doesn't bend. You spent years trying, proving, humbling yourself thinking that was love. And what did you get? Ghosted with a smirk, compared with a backhanded compliment, dismissed with an "I'm just confused." Too late to backslide now. Once you taste strategic silence, you can't go back to being the emotional beggar. You don't apologize for ghosting. You don't explain your absence to someone who never valued your presence. You don't hand roses to someone who stomps on your garden. You're not available anymore. You're the overdue emotional bill she'll pay, in silence. She'll smile for the gram, sure, post captions about gratitude, play the unbothered queen. But every time she thinks of you, she'll swallow hard, because your silence screamed louder than any outburst. Your cold shoulder spoke clearer than 1,000 texts. And your absence became a permanent fixture in her ego. You didn't get revenge. You leveled up. And that, my man, is something no woman ever forgives.